Hey everybody, it's GoblletX, and as you can see I've got my 2,000 gold at the ready, so it's time for another Jumpstart event. I'm still very far away from getting all of the different packets in this Jumpstart event, and incredibly far away from getting all of the rares and mythics that I want out of this set, but whenever the event's over I'll be sure to craft those. So, for now, as you can see, all three of these packets are something I've never opened before. I'm pretty sure Walls is a mythic rare pack, meaning that there's only one version of it, so it's quite a rare pack. However, I'm not super into that basic land, and I'm not super into the cards that are in it. I don't really like the Walls Mythic Rare, and I've already opened that. So I think I'm actually going to roll with Enchanted. That just sounds the most fun to me. I do like Enchantress kinds of decks, and Jumpstart events are kind of all about fun, just getting the cards that you want for Historic or Historic Brawl. Nothing here that's even going to be, great for Standard. So, really, my suggestions in Jumpstart is to just have fun, take the cards you like, take the cards you're going to have fun with, and that's what I'm going to do here. Walls might be the, rarest pack here, but I'm straight up just going to take Enchanted, because that just sounds pretty cool. Now we have Spellcasting, Dogs, and Dinosaurs. So if I go with Enchanted Dogs, I'll have two white decks, so that'll be nice to just never have mana problems, but the thing is, I'm pretty sure almost every theme pack in this set has a Thriving land. That's a land that enters tapped and then can tap for a mana of any color in another color, and I do just hate the feeling that I've had before when I drafted two red decks where I'll draw that comes into play tapped land, and it's like, well, this is just doing nothing for me now. So I do prefer to play two colors in this format. I just find that more fun because I just never get to feel bad with the Thriving lands that you do in monocolor. So I'm probably going to go with Spellcasting or Dinosaurs. That Spellcasting mountain is pretty neat, but Dinosaurs are cool too. I'm going to go with Enchanted Spellcasting. That just sounds like a pretty interesting combo, especially if the Spellcasting deck has a lot of cards that care about non-creature spells specifically instead of just instants and sorceries. So what I do recommend in this event, since you only need 2 wins before you've got all of the prizes, I am going to add this to my decks so that I can play it against anybody in the future, and more importantly for now, I'm going to look at my deck list because it's very possible that I'll get the 2 wins without even seeing all the rares and mythics in my deck, especially if it happens in only 2 games. So I'm just going to see what the coolest cards I've got here are. Looks like we got Celestial Mantle as our enchanted rare, or at least one of them. This is 3 white and 3 more to give enchanted creature +3/+3, and whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total. So that's an incredibly fun card for casual formats like Commander. That'll be pretty sick in Brawl. It is very much like a win more card because you got to be hitting your opponent with something that you put a 6 mana enchantment on, but that's one of those cards I can definitely see people using to make their posts on the Magic Arena Reddit of I broke the game because I have more than 1,000,000 life now. So that's super fun. We also got Archon of Sun's Grace, so it's a double rare pack. While that is a rare, I already have all the copies of that I need because it is a reprint from a standard set, that is from Theros Beyond Death. It is still nice to get 2 rares in the one pack here. Very happy about Celestial Mantle at the very least. And then the rest of this is just cool commons and uncommons here. And for the red pack, we did get Immolating Gyre, a mythic rare, 6 mana. It does X damage to each creature and planeswalker you don't control, where X is the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. So it does look like the Spellcasting deck is going to focus primarily on instants and sorceries, so a bit of a strange combination with the enchantment deck, but we do at least have a couple prowess cards. Those will trigger when we're casting enchantments as well. So I don't know if I drafted the most synergistic couple of decks here. I wasn't sure. I haven't been reading all of the Jumpstart deck lists before opening up my my packs, but if that's something you want to do, I'll have the links in the description for you, so you don't end up with a weird combination like I have here. Wizards has put out the deck lists that you could get in every single strategy, so you'll know for sure what you have a possibility of getting, so you don't end up with stuff that you didn't want, or things that don't synergize well. That being said, I think it's still going to be fine. I can kind of just roll with it with just the instants and sorceries in the red half of this deck. Hope that's good enough. If not, I do have some prowess cards, so it'll all be fine. And in the Jumpstart event, it is a casual event. No matter how many times you lose, you're never going to get kicked out of it. Just gotta grab those 2 wins no matter how long it takes. And that is something I'm willing to do. So, technically, the worse my deck ends up being, the more games you all get to watch. But that being said, the longer this video is, the more you know this deck has lost. So maybe it won't be the most entertaining content if I lose a bunch. So our opponent starts with Champion of Lambholt. This card is an absolute house in Limited. 3 mana for a 1/1, but everything with power less than its power just cannot block now. And whenever they play any creature, they put a +1/+1 counter on that Champion of Lambholt. So dropping that out this early in the game is going to be incredibly powerful. It's going to force us into a back and forth situation where I'm never blocking their stuff, so I'm just always cracking back. So that's pretty crazy. I guess I could take the trade here for Blessed Spirits. I don't really like that trade, as I have an Indomitable Will in my hand, which is an instant speed aura. This is another reprint from Theros Beyond Death. So I can really make this Blessed Spirits really big really quickly. That being said, there's a pretty huge argument for just snapping off that trade, because Champion of Lambholt's just static ability is going to be such a huge problem throughout this game, forcing me to be unable to block. I can cast a Forced Worship on that, so at least that can't attack. But its secondary effect will still be in play. I still won't be able to really block anything. Yeah, I don't think I need a Forced Worship immediately. Maybe just cast a Thrill of Possibility, try to draw into something better. We'll discard this. I'm actually going to discard the Celestial Mantle. We're just very far from casting that at 6 mana. This way I get to send in with the Kiln Fiend and the Blessed Spirits this turn. They either trade for the Audacious Thief or take 6 damage. Kiln Fiend is a really nice card they put in one of the historic anthologies. If you haven't had the gems or the wild cards for the historic anthologies in the past, this is a pretty nice card to open up in your spellcasting themed packs, because it's just a really fun card to play around with in Historic and Historic Brawl. Unfortunately didn't draw any lands, but these are powerful cards, especially Hungry Flames. 3 damage to a creature and 2 damage to a planeswalker or a player, so that's a very powerful removal spell. They're not going to have any planeswalkers, they just have a swamp and a +1. The only planeswalkers in the Jumpstart format are in the Planeswalker-themed packs. So you'll know if your opponent has a Planeswalker if they have a Planeswalker-themed basic land. Like if they have a Garruk Forest, they'll have Garruk. If they have a Liliana Swamp, they'll have Liliana. But as you can see here, none of these are those weird Planeswalker-y style lands. So Hungry Flames is just going to do damage to their face. They do drop down a Lawless Broker, so whenever that dies, it puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature they control. And they're just going to scoop them up. I'm going to assume that's because I'm playing kind of slow. It is a little hard to play quickly while you're trying to get out all your thoughts in video format, especially when you're stuck on mana and you've got like tons of different plays you could make, so definitely apologies to my opponent if that was the reason for the concession there. But that is one thing I've definitely been noticing in Jumpstart, is that there's a lot more concessions in this format than you would see in just a regular draft or even just any ranked ladder, just because of the fact that these games are all just for fun mostly. If you lose a game, it really doesn't matter. You can just hop in and try to win one later. There's no getting kicked out of the format. For that reason, I have seen concessions just all the time in this format. That is the one thing I would say I don't like, but I think overall it's still definitely worth keeping the format at the casual price and event kind of format, where you can't get kicked out at any number of losses. So our opponent is on goblins. As you can see, that is a mountain just teeming with goblins there, so that's really cool. I'm going to try to speed my gameplay up a little bit here, because I feel a little bad for our last opponent. I am going to crash through this turn, so both these creatures can attack without getting killed by that goblin. I guess it does damage whenever it blocks or becomes blocked, so it would trade with either of them. I'm still just going to attack here. They probably trade with the Heartfire Immolator. So I guess I was trying to play a little too fast. I'm just all self-conscious now. Because I try my best. Like, I definitely don't like getting slow played, and I don't like slow playing people. So it feels really bad when you do something like that unintentionally. Alright, so here's a Siege Striker. 1/1 double strike. They can tap creatures to make that even bigger. For now, that's not big enough to survive either of these creatures. It would trade with the 2/2. We'll see if they take the trade. Looks like they do. So they have a Thriving Heath, so we don't know what their white theme is yet, because we haven't seen their white basic. Looks like that is the Armored Plains, so they're going to have a lot of goblins and a lot of +1/+1 counters. As you can see with Tempered Veteran being able to put +1/+1 counters on things, and Light Walker being able to gain flying when it has a +1/+1 counter. So Chandra's Parling is my only real play here, double cast. I could technically cast it, but it would do nothing unless I cast another instant or sorcery. Now I'm just going to pass. Don't really have good attacks here. If I attack with both, I assume they would just trade Light Walker with Kiln Fiend and just block Tempered Veteran. They could also just have let the Kiln Fiend through for the 1 damage if they had Goblin Commander in their hand here. Archon of Sun's Grace is a really nice draw. Now if I draw any more enchantments throughout this game, this will spit out a 2/2 white Pegasus with flying. So very, very powerful card. Just giving you additional flyers every time you cast an enchantment. In the right deck, that can be anytime you cast almost anything in your deck. I'm going to go ahead and get in with that, I think. Gain some life off this attack. I don't really want to block with it, even if it is big enough to block one of these 2/2s and be safe. It doesn't feel that safe against a Goblin's deck, seeing as they do have things like this Goblin Commander that they played that could deal an additional couple of damage. So I just don't want to put the Archon in harm's way, so I'm just not going to be using it to block. They're going to dump all their mana onto the Light Walker to put a +1/+1 counter on it and give it flying. Now they can put more counters on it for only 1 mana with the first ability on Tempered Veteran. So that's pretty powerful. I'm going to cast Kinetic Augur. It feels like I'm never going to have the mana to double cast something, so I'm just going to discard that, draw another card. It'll make Immolating Gyre larger, so Immolating Gyre is now at 2. So I believe that would do 2 damage to each creature that I don't control, and no damage to my creatures. That is what it says, so that'll be absolutely massive next turn. I think I'm definitely just going to crack that off. Bulwark Giant will survive, but that is their only surviving creature out of it. I guess with Tempered Veteran being able to put another counter on Light Walker would survive too. In that case, I'm actually just going to throw First Strike. Ooh, actually, it doesn't get First Strike unless it has another aura attached to it. This is the first time I've actually read this card, I think. Face of Divinity. So Face of Divinity definitely gets stronger with another aura on it, but even now, a 5/6 flying lifelink is pretty massive. Definitely too big to be blocked by the 3/2 Light Walker. Light Walker will be a 4/3 at the end of this turn for 1 mana. So I'll definitely cast Immolating Gyre next turn. I'll kill everything except Bulwark Giant and Light Walker. Light Walker will be pumped up. Oh my god, maybe I just throw Knightly Valor down now? Now we're just casting all these enchantments. We are top decking like a champion here. This Archon is just getting harder and harder to deal with, because now it gets the First Strike and Lifelink from Face of Divinity. Already had Lifelink, just natively, but giving that First Strike and Vigilance is massive. So that game was absolutely brutal. We didn't even need the Immolating Gyre. So I'm going to go ahead and play a third game here just to extend the video a bit, give you guys a little more gameplay to watch. And let's see what our second rare is. It's another Celestial Mantle, so it's definitely something I don't have a playset of, so that's fine. But I would definitely prefer something I don't even have 1 copy of, because most of what I do, historic-wise, just constructed-wise period, is Brawl, where you only need 1 of everything. That being said, as long as it's not like a 5th copy of something, I'm happy with it. I don't even remember what my first rare was, because I was just I was just sitting there being a little bummed that my opponent conceded. It's a bit of an awkward hand, but we already have our 2 wins. This game is just kind of gravy. It's just the icing on top of the cake, the gravy on the potatoes, whatever foods you prefer. I might be a little hungry right now, I'm not sure. But yeah, since this game very much doesn't matter, I'm okay with keeping a pretty rocky hand that, if this were a very competitive game, I probably would have mulliganed. But that's part of the fun with Jumpstart. You don't have to really worry about all that kind of stuff like you usually would. So now I'll drop down the Shieldmate, and I'm going to shock the Onaki Ogre. That'll give a Prowess trigger to Lightning Visionary, so I get in for 3 damage this turn. And now, thanks to massive luck on the lands I've drawn, I get to drop Archon of Sun's Grace next turn, which should be really good. And there's a really cool combo with Archon of Sun's Grace and Forced Worship. Forced Worship can return to your hand, so the way it was designed is so you can put that onto one of your opponent's early game creatures that you don't want them to attack with, and then you can bounce it and put it on something scarier later if they cast a bigger threat. But we can actually just bounce it and put it on the same creature with Archon of Sun's Grace out. We get a 2/2 every time we cast this thing, and we can just repeatedly spam it. So I can say that that can't attack. Now I can attack with Archon of Sun's Grace, and they might block it because they might think that I thought that that said it can't attack or block. And it looks like that's the case, so we'll throw Indomitable Will on the Archon to just eat that. Unfortunately, this is a Nombo, because now I'm not getting the Forced Worship back to my hand over and over again. But I think the play was still a massive tempo play. That turns my Archon of Sun's Grace into a 4/6 lifelinker. They've got no creatures on board, and I have 2 more 2/2s with lifelink and flying. And it looks like our opponent scoops him up there. It was probably going to crash through, see if I drew into anything, and then swing in. But our opponent is not ready to wait for any more spells. They're very over it. So, definitely pretty bonkers run through Jumpstart in this video. That did show off one of the mild issues with the event structure, but it's more of just an issue with I don't know, with kind of the player base sort of thing, more so than anything, that people will just snap concede in games that aren't super competitive. But that last concession, I mean, that was super fair. I would have expected a concession like that even in a competitive game like a draft, because that start was bonkers. But anyways, I would like to thank you all very much for watching, like always. I will see you all... Whoa, I don't know what happened with my voice there. I'm really good at just talking over myself and mixing up words into a strange jumble that doesn't mean anything. But, anyways, I would like to thank you all for watching as always, especially those who have stuck around to the end of this video. I will see you all again very soon for more Magic Arena content. Tomorrow evening, Friday at 5 p.m., every Friday at 5 p.m., I will now be streaming drafts on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/GauntletX, and every Saturday evening at 5 p.m. Central, I will be streaming Historic Brawl with viewers like you, all PBS style. So if you want to play some Historic Brawl with me, just hop on Saturday evenings, and I'll be there. And if you just want to watch me play some games live, Friday evenings for that. If you just want to watch recorded videos like you always do, all you gotta do is stick around on the channel, like, comment, and subscribe, all of the goodies, and, as I was saying before, I will see you all again very soon for more Magic Arena content. Thank you.